Dear netizens, Trump is being forced to ask if there is potentially a possible recession in the United States. He does not rule out. He now knows that a recession is possible. Earlier, in the past, he had already mentioned that tariffs could potentially cause inflation and cause significant and lasting pain to consumers. Economists all over the world today are all looking at whether the United States will have a recession. I think a recession in the US is likely inevitable. And it was indeed a very extremely severe and prolonged recession. I'll give you the reasons again. And because of this, if you've ever heard a video of Patreon, I'm really interested in investing in stocks. It is indeed very prudent now. Okay, all right. Those cash coupons, HK 3,000 only until sold out, selling out soon. The sausages are about to sell out. H3000 cash coupon. Send an ace sausage. Send a blood sugar bar. I'll get something for $400 for you. You immediately take it and buy our products. It's also very cheap. HK 5000, HK 5000. One foie gras, a brain shaole, valued at 600. 800 more approximately. One foie gras, an ace sausage. There are also raw probiotics, such as the NAD HK88. You can buy a full set of twin-brand kitchenware. Fox News broadcast an interview on Sunday. The moderator indeed asked if the U.S. economy would be in recession this year. Trump does not rule out this possibility. And finally, face reality. I conclude by explaining what Trump thinks now. Trump. Though certain companies complained, there is a lack of clarity in Trump's tariff policy. He ignored it. How is there a lack of clarity? In fact, Trump said it very clearly. Why do they feel there's a lack of clarity? Trump said Mexico and Canada would add 25% tariffs. There are still a bunch of tariffs waiting to be added on April 2nd. One is a reciprocal tariff, such as, for example, reciprocal tariffs are a serious matter. I'll have a video about it tomorrow. Presumably equivalent tariffs. It is a tax on more than approximately $1 trillion in the world globally, which is a significant amount of money. An additional 10% to 20% is levied. There is also a 25% tariff on cars worldwide, a 25% tariff on semiconductors, 25% tariff levied on medicines. Timber is being considered. How much does it end up with? I can give you an estimate. The industry is already clear. They always say we want to be clear. Sounds good. He did not answer the question. In fact, Trump has already said that there are so many tariffs. Why can't they say it clearly? They think Trump may not add, because some certain pro-Trump individuals who support the former president think this is nothing than a condition for negotiations. It's not really plus. Actually, Trump told you that it would really be added. I'm the one who believes in Trump the most. He'll add, the globalists have been exploiting the United States for years. They take money from the United States all the time. And what we've done is we've taken back some of that. He did not specify tariffs. Just be clear and concise. I swore that I would definitely be on time. That's clear. He didn't say, it's just a matter of why there are tariffs. This is typical Trump. He doesn't answer questions. Tariffs have already caused significant market turmoil and uncertainty. One of the reasons for the decline in the stock market. It's the uncertainty about it. Companies are stockpiling raw materials. Assess operations. Be prepared to mark up. Walmart and Target have clearly announced that they will increase prices. Trump said tariffs would rise again. I don't know if it's predictable. He added it to April 2nd. If others counter him, he'll add more, and some more things will continue to be added. I think he's likely going to keep raising tariffs on semiconductors. Tariffs on semiconductors will be added one after another. Tariffs on automobiles added sequentially. Okay, all right. Minister of Commerce. He came out naturally, of course, to appease people. Definitely not going to decline. There will be no recession in the United States. Indeed, acknowledging tariffs can make imported goods more expensive. It's precious. But U.S. goods are highly competitive within the U.S. market and remain very competitive. Isn't it? Actually, he said it. Tariffs are coming. It's not that U.S. goods are competitively exported. U.S. goods are competitive in the U.S. No breaking. Tariffs will continue. I'm carefully looking at the tariffs while considering them until April 2nd. I definitely think it will continue, without a doubt. This brings great turmoil and confusion. Will Trump be put on the brakes? How long does it take to step on the brakes? And will it be too late for him to hit the brakes? Is the United States already in a deep recession? Let's see. On 28 February, the Fed's model revised its economic forecasts sharply downward. Adjust the economic growth in Q1 from 2.3% to 1.5%. Last week, 2.4%. Last week, 2.4%. 5% fluctuation. Approximately. Why do you ask? I'm going to start by explaining it. The main reason is that imports have increased a lot. To be subtracted from GDP, imports have increased a lot. Because those people are stockpiling. In fact, why has the number actually dropped so much? That's why. Part of it is because of this. All right, let's see. The United States imposed tariffs on China by 20%. China retaliates by 10%. U.S. inflation could rise by 0.5%. You remember that. Fed projection by the Federal Reserve. Purely a 20% tariff on China. China retaliates by 10%. This thing rose by 0.5%. 4 quarters. This item is a carefully crafted and manufactured product designed with precision and attention to detail, ensuring high quality and reliability for various applications. This is an intermediate product. Up here, gradually increased to 0.5%. It's flat. 4 quarters. It's 7 seasons of recession that have been marked by economic downturns. It calculates the additional 20% tariffs imposed by the United States on China. China is just retaliating. This would likely create 0.5% inflation. Recession for 4 or 5 quarters. Good. I'll tell you how much in total. China's products to the U.S. are about 500 billion. The additional 20% is 100 billion. Okay, all right. How many are coming now? If Canada and Mexico impose a 25% tariff, the two of them are 1 trillion, it's 250 billion. Reciprocal tariffs, indeed, I believe, another 100 billion. Approximately 150 billion. To the end, add automobiles, pharmaceuticals, and semiconductors, such as Trump's goal is to achieve. It is levied 1 trillion, balance your budget and save. 1 trillion, that's 10 times that number. And you guess that every country will fight back. And the European Union, another 100 billion in the EU. That's 10 times that number. If that's approximately 0, after all these tariffs ultimately add up, it is 5% of the confluence, plus inflation right now, currently 2.7% and 2.9%. It is 8% of the confluence. 8% inflation, 8% inflation, in principle, in a manner of speaking, it would theoretically speaking allow the Fed to potentially raise interest rates upwards of 11% to 12%. There will undoubtedly and inevitably be a very serious recession. Okay, all right. Bank of America's chief strategist, known as the most accurate analyst on Wall Street, Michael Hartnett warns the U.S. economy is standing on a precipice. A recent bad employment report. You can push it into the depths of recession. Why is that? A terrible employment report indeed. As a result, those companies will no longer invest. So it is indeed declining very rapidly. In fact, inflation or not, economic recession period, a lot of it is a psychological element. As long as people feel that there is inflation, they'll ask for a raise. Demand higher interest rates, ask for higher rents. As long as they think there is a recession, don't invest, don't spend money. So a bad jobs report can be pushed into the depths of recession since approximately the end of 2024. It's about the same time as I said I began warning Trump about the risks of his election in November. Investors have been advised to withdraw from U.S. stocks. Switch to big. It's bonds, various types of international stocks, and gold, such as these. Where do you personally think it will prosper? I expect both European and Japanese equities to rise. That's what I expected. Let's see what the international media thinks. The Financial Times said, the U.S. economy is heading for a recession on the date of March 10th. We talk about the latest. March 10th, this is undoubtedly the latest, including high consumer debt. Financial pressure increases. The policy is uncertain. The Wall Street Journal said on March 10th, Trump failed to rule out a recession in 2025. He believes that the economy may be chaotic in the short term. The long term is favorable. Axios. This is shock therapy, also known as electroconvulsive therapy. He wanted to treat two things that mattered in his life. It is believed that the United States will always go bankrupt if it does so. He wants to cure the trade deficit of the United States. And reducing the U.S. government deficit, hopefully the U.S. debt can be reduced. His therapy is aimed at both of these things and want to also bring back manufacturing. The Associated Press also said, Trump imposes additional tariffs. March 8th, government layoffs freeze spending. It could hurt economic growth, Barron said. March 8th, investors are worried about a slowdown in the economy. Strategists believe this concern is justified. Recession fears persist. Ongoing concerns remain. March 4th, the U.S. economy has lost momentum under Trump. The Fed expects a contraction in the first quarter. March 4th, U.S. manufacturing orders fell. February 28th, Business Insider Business. The author's concerns about the U.S. economy have intensified. I just tell you, what are exactly the current indicator numbers? Let's talk about the two items of green. Is the most likely to cause recession. The PMI is approximately close to 50. 50 is contraction. Non-agricultural employment. Forecast 77,000. This is not good. The period of prosperity was 21 to 220,000. The previous period was approximately 150,000. Now estimated at 77,000. These others are not reflected in any way. PMI 52.7 is indeed still good. Price. In fact, this is an indicator of inflation. It's not good. It's dangerous. The PMI is indeed better than expected. Services PMI. It's actually a little worse than expected. Prices are also slightly rising. These two are actually, in fact, bad. I tell you, Trump's concussion therapy goes like this. In a manner, he feels that the United States is about to go bankrupt because of two deficits. One is the fiscal deficit. One is the trade deficit. Increased government revenues with tariffs and duties. Let the intricate process of manufacturing in, and then the interest rate slightly. Because of the fiscal deficit of the United States, now there are approximately about 1 trillion. It is the interest from government debt, such as long as the United States is in recession, the interest will be reduced to close to zero, between 0 and 0.25. Or between 0.25 and 0.5. It can save 1 trillion per year. The current deficit in the United States is about $1.8 trillion a year because of the debt of 36 trillion. So he must save that money. And by the way, just slightly move the work back a little bit. I'll simply tell you, you ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't seen nothing yet. Now the market still thinks, at present, the market is slightly convinced that he will add Canadian and Mexican tariffs. It still doesn't believe that he will add tariffs to the European Union, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and Southeast Asian countries. So the market's expectations are indeed insufficient, when it really is indeed. You add tariffs on one side, while cutting spending in various sectors. What do you get? Most very likely stagflation. Prices go up slightly. And the recession, I'm absolutely telling you that this is indeed the incredibly hardest thing to deal with. Tried it way back in the 70s. The U.S. economy has been in the middle of a bed for 10 years. I still clearly remember it at the time. U.S. stocks have not risen for more than a decade. I'll show you. In the 70s, 80s, during the 3 recessions in the economy. 1, 2, 3 recessions, such as the Great Recession and more. Inflation is high. This is called stagflation. Rarely occurs at the same time, simultaneously. Why exactly was there economic stagflation during that time, in that particular situation? At that time, the pain index reached more than 20%. Inflation reaches approximately between 10% to 20%. There is also a 10% unemployment rate. Why is that so important? I'll explain it to you. Same as now. The outlook for the economy is indeed bleak. Because inflation is high, so the interest is undoubtedly high. So recession. But inflation persists. Why? In fact, because the price of oil has increased significantly, substantially more than before. This time, because the price of imported products significantly drives inflation-driven inflation. You can't cut interest rates. You're to up interest rates. Interest rate hikes cause a recession, and you've been raising taxes. So there will be stagflation, and I haven't counted a factor at all yet. As of now, the United States withdrew from leading the world. The position of the dollar will likely fall sharply. The world no longer uses the dollar as a reserve. In this way, the dollar continued to fall. Imports amid a continued and ongoing decline in the gradual value of the US dollar. Stagflation is even more severe. It's that the United States is not the world's policeman, so it essentially loses the dividends of the dollar. More than 20 trillion in issuance. More than 10 trillion is interest-free. Abroad, ensuring an unhindered and unrestricted and unimpeded access for all American businesses and enterprises operating in foreign markets. A rules-based world order in the global context. The favorable factors for large American global companies are slowly disappearing. Productivity in the United States has been declining for a long time, and the relationship between the United States and many countries has caused such tension, including the European Union. Talent leaves the United States. It would be a serious injury to the long-term productivity of the United States. What Trump did, I'm just telling you now. I told netizens yesterday, the big ship of the United States, the edifice will simply fall. America's prosperity cannot be maintained. Okay, all right. Let's briefly look at the NASDAQ. It soared significantly in the market after Trump's election. Now it's all down. It's lower than it was. Why? At the time of this ascent, two things are expected of Trump. The first one is called tax cuts. The second is deregulation, which refers to the removal of regulations. Trump's reforms involve a total of 4 distinct and specific things, such as key elements in the reforms.